All right, welcome in to Yard Prep here on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Five Reasons Sports and at Ethan J. Skolnick. Also, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe buttons here. You get all of our other content. This is a huge day on the channel. Pre-game and post-game off Dolphins Jets, and also pre-game and post-game off Heat Nets. So Dolphins are South Florida teams are playing one New York team and one New Jersey team today. I'm not giving them credit for two New York teams. All right, we'll tell you about our sponsor here in a second. Here's who we've got here on the panel. I got Eric Wadicki. You can follow him at Eric Wadicki. He's right next to me. We've got Louis Sung. You can follow him at Louis D. Sung. And we've got our guy Michael Quirk, and I never know how to get the letters correct in his Twitter handle. I always do them backwards, but he's next to Louis there on the bottom. Okay, this is it. Winner take all, kind of, for the Miami Dolphins today. They do need one thing to happen, of course, beyond beating just the Jets. They need the Bills, with all of their energy at home, with everything that's happened there over the past week. They need the Bills to beat the Patriots. Okay, the Bills still have something to play for, although they can't play for the number one seed at this point because the Chiefs have locked that thing up. So we have two results going on here today that we'll be watching. The Dolphins, again, playing the Jets. The Jets are out of the playoffs. The Jets are starting Joe Flacco today, because I was talking to some Jets writers who I've known for a while. They were just saying, look, they just don't want to deal with the Zach thing anymore. They've killed Zach's confidence. There was no point in playing Zach Wilson today. Mike White is out. Chris Streveler was not really an option for them. So they're going with Joe Flacco, who has a very, very, very long history against the Miami Dolphins. We will get into that in a little bit. Of course, the Dolphins are going with Skylar Thompson today. We don't have an update yet. Do we have an update, guys, on whether or not – I haven't checked – on whether or not Teddy's going to be active? I believed he was going to be. Teddy Bridgewater potentially active, so backup quarterback. But the Dolphins also signed Mike Glennon as a potential fill-in. Glennon hasn't played in a long time, but at least he has a very long neck. All right, let's get to it. Skylar Thompson today, Lewis. Like, what is a reasonable expectation for him? And what does Mike McDaniel have to do to make this easier on him? Because for all the talk about Mike McDaniel, offensive genius, and I've been behind him, he doesn't win with backup quarterbacks. He's not. And some other teams around the league are.
Well, let's be fair to Mike McDaniel, at least in one thing. First of all, the fact that Skylar Thompson is not even on the Prize Picks is just very indicative of what they think of what's going on with the Miami Dolphins. In spite of the fact that the Dolphins are somehow favored to win this game, I think that's the home team advantage type thing going on right there. But with that being said, Skylar Thompson.
And now finally,
the problem with Mike McDaniel is not that he couldn't win with backup quarterbacks, is that every single time he's had to call on a backup quarterback, he's had to call in a backup for the backup. It doesn't matter whether it was Teddy or if it was Skylar starting. They always had to go in and bring in somebody cold to say, okay, the other guy got hurt. Now you go and try to make something out of this game. When Teddy was in against New England, things were looking fairly decent, certainly good enough to win the football game. Yes, Teddy made that one mistake, but then he didn't even get to come back because he had already hurt his finger. So with that in mind, if Skylar Thompson can manage to play through the whole game, and I know that Alfredo Arteaga said earlier this week on Pulsefins Nation that Skylar Thompson's tape against Minnesota was really not that impressive. Listen, just by using the plain eye test, I was getting ready to get on a plane to go to Texas to see my girlfriend, now fiance, to go and see if she was to see if they were going to be able to do something. I was getting ready to get on the plane, and Skylar looked decent. Nothing spectacular, but we didn't need spectacular. We were hanging with them. And then he went down halfway through the second quarter or something like that. And so once again, we're down to this situation where we don't know what Mike McDaniel can do with backup quarterbacks. What we've definitely seen is that he has a very good knack at making sure that whoever the starting quarterback is, there's a game plan in place for him. When Tua's in the game plan is for Tua. And then if Teddy has to come in, it's very difficult for Teddy to execute Tua's game plan. So same thing happened. Teddy starts, and then after one play, he did not wobble. By the way, thank you, NFL. And then Skylar has to try to play Teddy's game. It didn't work. And then Skylar has to leave, and then Teddy has to play Skylar's game. Doesn't work. So all we really need, I really feel like, and this is the queasy feeling in my stomach because I can't help but feel like we've been burned too many times. I chose the Jets to win today on my show, but Miami can definitely win this game. It's just a question of, will Skylar stay healthy? All they have to do is just make it so that maybe he can do a few runs because he seems to like running with the football, keep the defense on their heels a little bit. Just find easy targets. Don't make it harder for him than it has to be.
So, Eric, let's talk about that specifically, as we say, making it easy on him and trying to find a way to win. They don't have Terran Armstead today, again. That means more than it might with Tua's playing because this is his blind side. So, I mean, that's an issue as well. But I keep coming back to this. Like, the Dolphins' running game has had moments where it's been effective. And this is a good Jets defense. Like, you're going to have to mix it up against this Jets defense. Whatever you think of the Jets offense right now, what is your carry number today for the Dolphins? What do they need to get to?
I would like to see them get to 30 carries combined, including some runs out of Skyler. You look at the first matchup against New York, and Raheem Mostert was going off. He had over 100 yards in the first half, and it was one of those. It was kind of that first glimpse that we saw of, the kind of pattern that we've seen where they're running the ball really well in the first half, but then in the second half they kind of let it go. They can't afford to let it go today. They ran very well on this Jets team in the first matchup. I would hope that they do it again with no Armstead. You might see more design rollouts for Skyler, give him the opportunity to use his legs a little bit more because he does seem to be the most mobile of the quarterbacks on the roster. But overall, I would really like to see a run-heavy game plan. But it feels like that's just asking for the impossible.
We're going to pivot to the defense here in a second, but Michael, one more thing on the offense. Tyreek Hill, at times this year, was an MVP candidate and the Offensive Player of the Year candidate. It hasn't gone quite as well when Tua hasn't been playing, but it feels to me like they need a huge game from him. Like, right? I mean, the Jets secondary has been pretty good, but Tyreek, that doesn't seem to matter. But Tyreek's had some moments where he's been, I'm not saying he should have necessarily caught the ball from Skyler that ended up being the interception last week, but he could have caught. We've seen him make that catch before. To you, is he the X factor? Who is the X factor today?
No, I agree with that as well. This has to be a Tyreek game. I'd love for us to establish the run and use the play action, kind of what we thought McDaniel would do coming into the year. But you have to do the old bleep it, Tyreek's down there somewhere offense at some point. Just let him chuck it because a couple things are going to happen. He's going to come down with a couple of those. Worst case scenario, you get picked off 50 yards down the field. Or what's going to happen, nobody's better at this than Tyreek Hill of coming back to an underthrown ball or an intentionally underthrown ball. And Sauce Gardner has a propensity to make big penalties at big times. So he could just run right through Tyreek and you could steal some yards that way. So I think you have to try Tyreek deep. You have to put him in motion, hand it off to him, get him involved in a variety of ways, but you just have to put the ball in his hands early and often. Because some of those times when you don't see Tyreek, you're just thinking you can't have explosive plays without getting the ball to the most explosive player.
We'll get to the defense in a second. I do want to mention on Prize Picks before we get to that. Use that code 5 FIVE. Get your initial deposit matched up to $100. They don't have rollovers. This is actually free money that they're giving you. If you want to pair it with some of the NBA games today or the NFL games, you can. This is just rated the #1 fastest growing sports property in the country. We got everybody playing right now. We're all aligned on this. Use that code 5 FIVE. Download it from the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, or prizepicks.com. To me, the most interesting prop that I saw today, and I saw one of you guys played it, somebody in our group played it, is the Waddle prop. What's it at? 45.5? Today you played it, Louis.
47.5. Yeah.
That's the lowest. That's the lowest it's been probably all season, maybe since week 1, right? Playable?
Right. I can't imagine that Waddle will not get at least a couple of catches today. Like the only way that doesn't happen, I feel like, is if Skylar Thompson absolutely just doesn't complete any passes, like at all. Like aside from the fact that I think it would be safe to say that he likes to throw a running back. So if there are any receiving props on Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson, you might want to try that. But with the case of Waddle, I just feel like with a number that low, even last week when between Teddy and Skyler, he was still able to actually get that prop. So I feel like that one's easy money. So I would go with that. Tyreek, I would pick the under on Tyreek today, just on instinct.
Do we know where that is? I'll have to take a look at it. It was in the 70s.
70.5 on Tyreek.
Yeah, I'm not doing Tyreek.
Also the lowest it's been, but I'm with you. Is Jason Sanders on the board?
Yes,
he is, and I didn't pick him.
Now he screwed up a 5 play for me last week. 1.5 field goals. Is that where he's at?
Yeah, it's where all the kickers are at. They're always at 1.5 field goals. So that's just the basic number.
Would you play it, Michael? See, part of me says I would play it only because I think they get into field goal range but don't finish. But part of finishing, of course, is making the kick. So that's the problem.
I think I'll take it.
No.
I think
Michael, no.
But come on, we're banking on Skylar to succeed every time they're with him.
I'm banking on Jason Sanders to miss every time is what I'm banking on.
Fair. I think he'll get enough attempts to get there.
I got to see where this clip is so I can give it to Hussam. We're at about the 11-minute mark. What do you think, Eric? Break the tie here? Because I don't know if Jason Sanders is going to break a tie.
I think he gets it. They're at home. The conditions are a lot better than they were last week. There's a little bit of wind in New England. He'll get it.
All right, let's go over to the defensive side now. Joe Flacco has an interesting history against the Miami Dolphins. For years and years and years, the Dolphins could not win in Baltimore. I remember, was it 2016? Flacco completed 90% of his passes against them. This is a very different Joe Flacco, though. This is a stationary Joe Flacco. He always was, but now he doesn't have the other stuff. They've got some decent skill guys, but still, Michael, defensively, seems like Josh Boyer kind of knows his time is up. That's what I got from his comments this week. I don't know if he's going to try to put something good on tape here for his future employers. I don't know if that means he'll blitz less, blitz more. What would you do with Flacco?
I mean, Flacco's not going to beat you deep. Everyone talked about his enormous arm, and sure, he made some big plays during that Super Bowl run that they had. But he is one of the lowest yards per attempt. He likes to live absolutely underneath. So you just have to attack that and dare Flacco to beat you deep on that end and have Javon Holland back there. So I don't know. I don't think anything with Josh Boyer is that he does against the Jets is going to do anything one way or the other. I don't think that this is a job-saving opportunity, and I don't think this is someone saying, oh, did you see how that Dolphins defense played against Joe Flacco and the Jets? That's the guy we need.
Maybe not. But Eric, as we look at the defense here and you look at the Jets, give me the one guy who does scare you on the Jets offense. If they lose today because the Jets, say, score in the 20s, who's it going to be?
Tyler Conklin. This is a game where if the Dolphins lose, it'll be the tight end that has 2 touchdowns. It won't be 100+ yards, but I could see 5 catches, 50 yards, 2 scores out of Tyler Conklin today if the Jets beat the Dolphins.
Hey, is a linebacker ever going to make a play for the Dolphins this year, Lewis? I'm still waiting. We're in week 17.
You want a linebacker to make a play? Michael, I have to interject on you because I have to feel like that there's something that you said. Dare Joe Flacco to beat us deep? Why? So Keon Crossan can tackle the wide receiver again? No, thank you. The best thing for the Miami Dolphins to do right now is to rush 4 and maybe 5 every once in a while with Jerome Baker, who actually looks good when he's rushing the passer. That's the guy that you rush the passer with. So if you want somebody to make a play in the linebacker position, Jerome Baker's your guy. Otherwise, Landon Roberts stopping the run. That's how they make plays at linebacker.
Lewis, says Jerome Baker. Can you give me 3 plays that Jerome Baker's made this year? Because Landon Roberts.
No, because he's been misused horrifically, and Alfredo Arteaga has mentioned that many, many times now. Jerome Baker is at his best when he's rushing the passer as the buck linebacker. But what have they been having him do? Covering running backs, covering tight ends. He's been in coverage all year. So the thing that he does best, he hasn't been allowed to do. So once again, thank you, Josh Boyer, for screwing all that up. If Josh Boyer wants to put any good film on right now for the Miami Dolphins on his career, I am sure that the best thing he can do is to not blitz. Do not Resist the urge. You do not need to. Stop taking the adrenaline shots in your arm. Just relax, chill, let Christian Wilkins and everybody else work at the front four, and then just push everybody back. You want to dare Joe Flacco to do anything? Make sure there's a lot of guys in coverage, so that way you don't have to end up having another one of those incidents where Crossan goes 50 yards down the field, tackles the guy, and then we're seeing a touchdown 2 minutes later. That's the best thing the Miami Dolphins can do right now in this game. The fact that Joe Flacco is stationary means that all Jalen Phillips has to do is just beat his guy and he'll be there. He's not going to have to worry about the guy running around like a crazy person. So this is a very simple game plan for Miami today. Just don't blitz. That's it. That's it.
Well, the two best players on the defense this year, in my opinion, have been on the defensive line. I mean, Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer, to me, have been the two most consistent best players in the defense. Even if Wilkins has flashed more, the guy who should be the best player on the defense is the guy they pay the most. He wears 25. He's a Pro Bowler in name only this year. I mean, are we finally going to get an Xavier Howard game today? I mean, finally, Eric won. He's got one pick, right?
Yeah, he's got one pick. I don't think it's going to happen. He had a chance to have his moment in the Packers game a couple weeks ago, drop that pick. I just hit the offseason and go back to the drawing board.
Is this his last game in a Dolphin uniform, potentially? Does anybody think so? Whose last game is this in a Dolphin uniform? Do we think of significance? Don't give me
Josh Boyer.
Okay. Oh well, him. He's not in a uniform. Michael, give me one guy that we're seeing him play for. I mean, we know Byron Jones isn't going to be back. We know. So give me something. Give me a guy that we're watching play for the Dolphins for the last time. Is it Jerome Baker? Maybe.
Mike Gesicki?
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It just never happened.
If you're looking on defense, if you're looking for players on defense who are going to play their last game, I really can't pick one out for you. Just maybe Eric Rowe. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think of people. Maybe Andrew Van Ginkel. I don't know. I'm trying to think of people who are the Dolphins going to see as expendable, because a lot of these players have just been misused more than anything else. Keon Crossan, maybe they move on from it, or maybe he goes back to being a special teams, which was supposed to be this year to begin with. So I'm trying to think of who on defense is just not coming back, and I can't think of anybody.
Well, we already know the two guys have been absent, Agba and Byron Jones. Probably not, but beyond that, all right. Let's get to the picks here again. The prize picks we mentioned before. Use that code 5FIV. I do think the Waddle pick looks the best, but again, check out the entire NFL board and start to play. We're going to start running some exclusive contests on prize picks also. Make sure you sign up before we do that. Let's get to the picks here. We'll go to you first on this, Michael. Two questions together. Do they win today? And if they win today, are they in the playoffs?
Yes. Yeah, I've been looking at this. I know it's not an actual win and get in. It's not that easy. You do need the Patriots to lose, but come on. The Patriots beating the Bills after what we saw on Monday, and then with getting to speak to Hamlin this week, I would hate to be playing the Bills this week, and there's no way I can bet on that just pedantic Patriots team and Mac Jones to go and get that done. But I've got the Dolphins say 20-13. I think it's going to be a just hideous game, but I think that the Dolphins get it done and push the season at least one more week.
Yeah, and then lose by 4 touchdowns. Eric, what you got?
Yeah, so to answer the two-parter, no, they do not win, but yes, if they do win, they do get in. I've got Jets 21-17. I think that this team is just kind of drained.
So you're with me here. I'll let Lewis finish today. You're with me in that you think the Steelers are going to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I do too. He always finds a way. Like the easiest bet in football is if the Steelers get off to a slow start, going to the Vegas books and still playing them to make the playoffs, because Mike Tomlin finds a way. Lewis, you sticking with your pick on Pulse or no?
I'm sticking with my pick. I don't think the Dolphins win this game. Anything that has low scoring on the opposing side, I don't trust. I just don't trust this defense. I don't trust Josh Boyer to not give in to his instinctive urge to blitz 6 people. If I were, again, I say it again, if I were him, I would stop pretending to give 0 blitz looks. Every team knows it. They are all just going to drop back anyway, so they're stop acting like it's anything important. And every time they do blitz, all they have to do is heave it up, and whoever's out one-on-one with the receiver is going to commit pass interference anyway. So, unfortunately, I don't think Miami wins this game. I think it's going to be Jets winning 21-14. But with that said, if that does happen, then I don't want to start seeing everything about how Mike McDaniel needs to be fired and Chris Greer needs to be fired and Tua needs to be replaced, because I know that's how everybody goes. This team showed what they can do when they're at their peak. And it's something that I refuse to ignore just because this is how things went at the bottom end of the season. Just one game we could have won. One game we could have won if our backup quarterback had managed to actually finish the game for once. Very, very simple.
Crazy part of this to me is that Tua is going to get scorched here, and the whole problem this season has been when he's not playing. It's just it's totally nonsensical to me.
Right. Now availability becomes his big problem. But
I understand that, and you have to protect for that. But the idea again that was the problem when we were seeing them have an offense they haven't had in 25 years is insane.
Tua still ranks top 5 in pretty much every category.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And now you can look back at that second half against Green Bay, and there's an actual cause and effect there that I think you can kind of look to if you don't want to ignore it. But anyway, here's my thing today. This is a total cop-out. I think one of 2 things are going to happen, okay? I think either the Dolphins are going to control this game from the beginning and the Jets are going to quit because they got nothing to play for. And so I think a lot has to do – if I were Mike McDaniel today – I know he likes to defer when they win the toss. Take the damn ball today, okay? Try to move it with your offense a little bit. Try to get something going with something scripted, because I think if they can get control of this game, I do think you'll see the Jets quit, okay? They're playing for Joe Flacco. Give me a break, okay? But here's the thing. I don't think that's going to actually happen.
May I interject?
You may.
I know you don't want me to, but I'm going to anyway.
Go ahead.
I don't believe that the Jets. I don't believe that the Jets have nothing to play for. I think they're playing for Robert Saleh's job.
Okay, and they like him, so that is fair. It does seem that they like him, so that they may. But here's what I think is actually going to happen. Okay, I don't think the Dolphins will get control of the game early, and I think that essentially they're going to end up in a low-scoring, like we've talked about, tight game, full of mistakes. And if that happens, Jason Sanders is missing a kick. That's what's happening today. This is. When you let a problem fester for an entire year, it comes back to bite you eventually. This team was not good enough to survive an inconsistent kicker. It's not. You have to have some. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about at the end of this. And I think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. And that is disgusting. When you consider what the Steelers had to deal with this year, it's bad. I don't believe McDaniel should be fired. I don't believe Greer should be fired. I do believe Boyer should be fired if they lose today. Or maybe either way, and
Danny Crossman, don't let him off the hook.
Yeah, they've been awful this year. That's the thing. The special teams have been awful too. So 3 going against the Dolphins today. Michael is the lone optimist on this particular program. So we'll see how that goes. Follow our coverage throughout the day. Post-game show will be coming up at the Gun. We'll have videos from the Dolphins locker room, which I'll be sending. And then Heat pregame will start. So as one season ends, maybe another one will finally actually start here in South Florida. We'll see. Have a good day, everybody. Use that code 5, F-I-V-E. Play the waddle over.